Now, if you tell them, do good karma so that your dharma increases and therefore you'll have a better life next life. What next life? Who cares about that? Their firm philosophy is life is to be enjoyed and to live on credit that way. Credit card debt is awful as long as you're alive. Once you're done, someone else's problem. That's life. That's the best way to live. Charvak philosophy. Now, how many societies live this way? 90% of my day I'm a Charvaka. I want happiness from material things. So we say Vedantan, what does that even mean though? Where does this philosophy even come from? So what are the levels that we see that don't make us happy? Let's start there. So if we go to Srimad Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, 42nd shloka. Let's start there. This is where Bhagavan goes into the different ways people express what this knowledge is. Because the knowledge is the same Bhagavad Gita, same Vedas, same everything, Upanishads, yet there's so many different schools of thought. How can that be? Interpretations range wildly. That's the reason why. So what's given first? There are people that are yamimam pushpitam vacham. Pushpitam vacham, they say flowery things. These are the people that can sell ice to someone from Alaska, okay? They can talk you into anything with their smooth talk. So used car salesmen, people like this, okay? No, they get what they want because of it. You can flatter someone to get what you want. You can threaten someone to get what you want. Knowing what kind of treatment to give each person, that is the skill that many so-called successful people have. Either it's sona or khadi, right? Either you give them the stick or you give them a carrot, whatever is needed for that moment, for that person in that situation. Knowing how to manipulate that can take people a long way. Apply that idea to religious philosophy. So Yamimam Pushpitam Vacham, they are the ones that take pleasure in eulogizing the Vedas, saying this knowledge is amazing and great and everything, but where's the actual living of it? Which is why Gurudev would always say, just because you see someone in some strange colored clothing, sitting on a stage with something on their forehead and either a lot of hair or no hair, don't trust just because you see these outer markings. They could be lying to you completely. And oftentimes we see that happen today. Actually judge what is being said. So if I'm stuck in this layer, simply praising the Vedas and not actually living by them, what does that lead to? If anything, the very scriptures get a bad name. Because I don't follow them, people that observe say, okay, if this person is supposed to be religious and follow the scriptures, which they claim to do, and they're this much of a rotten scoundrel, these religious scriptures must turn people that way. I can't tell you how many people, when I talk to them about the mission and join, we have satsang as activities for all age groups. I run them through the whole gambit. What they tell me is they're very distrustful of organized religion. Because they've seen people capitalize using the name of religion for their own personal agenda to get whatever they want, to abuse other people, to irreparably hurt people. We've seen that throughout history. So we can't really blame people for having that distrust. If we call ourselves religious people, how am I conducting myself 24/7? That is the one way. Now, having a lifestyle in line with my beliefs, that's the very first step. And that's why Sanatana Dharma accounts for so many different areas of life, so that we take that hypocrisy out of our lives. For instance, when it comes to goals of life, Sanatana Dharma is not naive in what it says. Kama and Artha are given as those lower goals of life. Artha, commerce, wealth. Kama, personal desire. That we will have these vasanas, those things must be fulfilled and used for a reason. Sanatana Dharma does not censure wealth at all. Or else that would be so hypocritical of me if I'm sitting up here day after day saying wealth is wrong, don't covet wealth, and then every December in our fundraising banquet that we have, I say, hey, please, give for a good cause. It doesn't work that way. Wealth is a wonderful thing. If procured in the right way, used for the right reason, executed for something higher, wealth is a wonderful thing. So these nuances for the person that simply speaks in a flowery way, they'll praise these scriptures not knowing anything about them in general statements. There's no depth. there is no nuance in the understanding right there. Then what else do we see? Kamatmanaha, those that are full of desire. Svargaparaha, having different lokas like Svarga as their goal. Now, here's some context we have to give. When we talk about heaven and hell, we label that as Svarga and Naraka in our language, don't we? Those are the only English words that have a close translation. That's why we assign those terms. But in an Abrahamic lens, on the Day of Judgment, depending on whether you take a certain entity as your Lord and Savior or not, you're either relegated to hell, where you burn for eternity, or you have the spoils of heaven, where you are for eternity. In our religion, however, even though we say heaven and hell, which you shouldn't, they're lokas, Svarga and Naraka, it is not a permanent place. As long as we are these jivas, there is movement and transmigration, life after life, between these 14 lokas that are there, different worlds. Now, if we don't even believe that there are different realms beyond this one, what I'm going to say for the next 5 minutes is just gobbledygook, does not really matter. Okay, so you can nap for the next 5 minutes if there's no belief in that. But for those that do believe what the scriptures say, that there are these multiple realms, based on the karmas that I do, and the dharma or adharma that I do them in, I accrue punya or papa. Because of that, life after life, I find myself in these different lokas. Now let's make it microcosmic then. Macro is the different lokas. Gurudev would say we create our own heaven or hell right on this earth right here. When you moved to this country 15, 20, 25, 30 years ago, when you first moved here, what was the biggest desire you had? Think back. If you can think back far that long back. What's the biggest desire you had? Who said it? Someone said something. Progress? In what way? What are tangible things, desires? Education, okay, something like a master's degree or something to put you on a footing for a career. People that came and started renting a place, your own place you want. Okay, you finally get those things. Education, advanced degree, your own place. What else? What are the desires after that? A car, a good car, durable car, German-made car, something like that, yeah? More after you get that? A good job, something that pays well, has some stability with it as well, not something that's contract-based and ephemeral, but something a little bit more permanent and stable. What else? Wealth. Not just wealth for a few years, but that kind of wealth that you can really bank on. Hopefully retire early if you have enough of it. What other desires came about after that? Freedom. Because all of these things shackle us, now we want freedom finally from all of it, right? It's like everyone wants a pool in the back of their house. Once you have a pool, anyone I talk to that has a pool, they tell me it's the worst decision they made. Because the first 6 months you enjoy it, after that no one gets in. Second of all, you know how much it costs to keep that pool clean? There's that creepy little thing that crawls inside it. You have to pay for that and make sure it doesn't break. Then leaves and stuff and birds poop in the pool, all these things happen. You have to clean all that stuff out. Chlorine tablets you put in. Every winter you have to either drain it or cover it or something. The headache associated with it, for the little pleasure it gives, is awful. Which is why pools used to raise the property value. Now we're seeing the opposite. Pools actually make the house depreciate, as sad as that is. So that's life. We go after these desires thinking they make us happy. And the logical thing is, yeah, they don't always make us happy. One other level beyond that, though, we find here. What we thought creates an amazing situation, we do enjoy it for a time. It would be fine if we enjoyed these things for a time, and then they don't give us pleasure, but they don't give us pain. The truth is, that which gave me pleasure at one point is a pain in my neck the next moment right there. And these are all things I wanted. No one forced me to have these things. I wanted each and every one of these things. Because of that, there's a disenchantment. There's a jadedness, a bitterness in the personality. All of this arises because of it. So we make our own heaven and hell here. Now, where does Vedanta or this knowledge come in play? How do I get out of it? Or how do I avoid it? What do I do? Because if I find myself in this realm, Kriya Vishesha Bahulam, Every new action that I do, I think this is the next best thing that'll fix everything for me. As long as I get this one job right here, that's it. I'll be happy, things will be fine. The moment when my kids go to college and are on their own, that's when I will be fine, I will be happy. Now, the moment when my kids get married and have their own kids, I will be happy, I'll be fine. At that moment that I retire, I'll be fine, I'll be happy. That elusive happiness in being settled never comes. It never comes. But Kriya Vishesha Bahulam, through my actions, I think I'm only one step away from that next thing. It's like when Luka Doncic got traded by the Mavericks. In their press conference, to justify their horrific, stupid action, they said, we now feel we are one piece away from a championship. Yeah, morons, you traded that one piece away. That's why you're one piece away from it. Like that, I'm always constantly one piece away from perfection and being happy. Now, what's the effect of all of this? Bhoga Ishvarya Gatam Prati. For bhoga and Aishvarya, for being blessed with wealth and great things, and for enjoyment, I do all of this. Now, there's nothing wrong with seeking enjoyment. Sanatana Dharma does not criticize seeking enjoyment either. But what is the natural thing that happens? Bhoga Ishvarya Prasaktanam Taya Pahrita Chetasam. If I'm someone that goes only after enjoyment, the result is any action that I do is having two things in mind: joy and power or lordship over something or someone. I want to be in control. That's what I want. How many of the situations in my life do I actually control? Think about it. We say we're in charge, we control our actions. Yeah, we do. To what extent? Think about a goal that you had in the year 2025. Believe it or not, we're already, mid-February of 2026. So all of 2025, think about a goal that you had in mind. Whether you accomplished it or not. Okay, you have a goal in mind then. Next column, what were the things that you were responsible for in this goal? Things that you and only you were purely responsible for in achieving this goal. Third column, what were all those external circumstances? The environment that I was in had to be right, the people I was with had to act a certain way, a little bit of luck on my side, all of this. Which column is longer? The one where you were responsible for stuff or other external factors? Other external factors. I'm already setting myself up for failure then. Where if I say my goals, because what else do we see in Bhagavad Gita? We saw this 3 weeks ago. It says, do not look for the results of action, simply work on the action. So, okay, at first reading, that means that I shouldn't worry about the results at all. Just do whatever I have to do. Things will play out as they play out. When I put so much emphasis on the external things that I have no control over, I'm readying myself for the result I don't want. Sanatana Dharma is not a religion that says just lay down and take whatever comes. What do I actually have control over? So I did this exercise with the high schoolers recently. One girl said, my goal is I want to be elected student body president in my school. Good goal. What are you responsible in that? I'm responsible for my ideas being out there, campaigning in an efficient, enthusiastic way, and that's about it. What are the external factors? My class actually voting for me. That's a lot to leave up to chance. A lot to leave to something external that I have no control over. Of course you're going to find yourself unhappy not achieving that goal. Now, it's not about being fine with the result. What if we looked at changing the goal? Okay, so what if we change that goal to, I will personally reach out to 80% of the voters in my class. How much is up to me then? That reaching out to everybody. How much of the goal is left up to the external circumstances? Nothing. That's a perfect goal right there. It's on my terms. Whether it's failure or success, I cannot blame any other entity for what happened. It's all on me. That's what's good for my growth right there. Or else I find myself in this cycle of every action that I do has the happiness as my goal, yet I don't achieve it, and I get bitter and jaded and blame other things. Oh, these circumstances aren't working. Accountability goes out the window right there. That is not Vedanta. and it's not being fine with results, can I actually intelligently change my goal from the beginning? Making it something I can actually do completely. Now, vyavasayatmika buddhihi, this is what builds. Samadho na vidhiyate, there is no steadiness of mind. There is no calmness of mind with resolve. And this vyavasayatmika buddhi is either I am not inspired to go do something and change, yet I'm not content with where I am right now. I'm in this neither nor period. That's a very terrible place to be. Where inspiration to change, that doesn't bite me. I can't be bothered to do anything. Okay, if I don't want to do anything, at least I'm fine where I am right now. No, I'm miserable where I am right now too. That's the effect of taking this knowledge in the wrong way. So what is to be done then? Here we go to the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 3.34 and 3.35. What does it tell us right there? Indriyasyendriyasyarthe ragadvesho vyavasthito. I have either attachment to certain things or an aversion to certain things. Whether it's the people in my life, the circumstances I find myself in, the duties that I must take up, all of these things. I cannot help but have a judgment and opinion there. So if anyone says they're opinionless about these things, we always have an opinion. Now, how far do I take that? How much does that affect me? Take parenting as an example. We tell our kids what we think is right and wrong, try to shape and mold them a certain way. And for the most part, they are receptive. They do listen. They do understand the value of living by values. And they are honest in terms of speaking to us about how they want to grow and what they want to do. And then they turn 16. And everything seems to fall apart at that age. That your kid who was so sweet and kind and amenable to everything, didn't have many desires, wasn't high maintenance. The moment a certain age comes, boy or girl, both, we're not picking on anyone here, things completely change. Your tone and volume at the house from both sides increases dramatically over time, and you find yourself not being on the same page at all, and you wonder, have I changed so much? Has the kid changed so much? What is wrong? What's going on? And by your smiles and frowns, I can tell that some of you have seen other kids, like not your kids are perfect. You've seen other people's kids and their families go through these things. It's definitely there. Now, what does that lead to? First, what is the cause of this, and then let's see what it leads to first. Expectations are natural to have in any situation. Expectations are even more natural to have when I've put in a significant investment into shaping something. Because at the end of the day, our kids are a reflection of us, and they are, more importantly, a reflection of our parenting. Because when we watch other people's kids, we have the luxury of being able to judge. You're at a supermarket, the line when you're about to check out, all the candies and everything is right on the eye level of the kid. That's on purpose. They know what they're doing. The kid wants it, parent says no, the kid throws a tantrum, crying, throwing things, everything. And you have the luxury of sitting there and saying, what bad parenting this is. See, they didn't teach their kid right at home, look how they act right here. We don't have that luxury of judging when our own kid does it, though. At that moment, it's shame, embarrassment. Is anyone here that I know looking at me? All of that comes into play because, based on that instant, we are being judged because of it. First step, then, is, can I step away from this dynamic of feeling so invested in everything that's not even me? My child, yes, extension of me, that's not me, though. If I cannot come to that realization, I cannot call myself a Vedantin. Now, what's the cause of this? Cause is I have this need to attribute I and my to everything. I want to label everything. It's like when you live with roommates, you put something in the fridge. If you don't put your name on it, that's fair game for anyone else to take and eat, apparently. Sometimes we learn that the hard way. So you label everything as I and mine. That becomes a habit in life also, where either you're his friend or my friend, you can't be both. We put these stipulations on people even. Either you're with us or against us. Life doesn't work that way. Yet we want to ascribe and have ownership over people, over things, over everything. Now, when that becomes a habit and cultivated so strongly, there is no scope for growth because I've created a little comfort level for myself. This little cocoon where these are my people, my things, what I'm comfortable with. I don't let anything enter from outside. I don't venture out anywhere else. Where is the scope for growth in that situation? That is that vyavasayatmika buddhi, where I don't feel content doing anything else other than what I've been doing, and I'm not happy with what I'm doing. So when senses take over like this, for that person, nacha bhavayataha shantihi, there is no peace for that individual. Shanti is that mental equipoise and peace. Nothing is bothering me. Nothing gives me anxiety. Nothing I'm regretful about. Simply that peace. How can there be that happiness for this kind of a person then? Now, what are ways to get that peace? Some would say, get that peace by not having any desires at all, which feels illogical. We've been conditioned since birth that wanting more means you have an interest in actually improving. Imagine if your kid came to you, high school kid. Mom, Dad, I see that, desiring more things leads to more complications. Therefore, I don't really want to go to a big school for college. I really don't want to go through all that. I just want something that'll barely support me. Anyways, you guys are here for me to live with all my life. I'll be totally fine. I have no other desires. That's why I'm only looking at jobs that barely require a high school degree. I don't even plan on going to college. I understand that wealth and advancement is not everything. What would you say to your kid? You would say, wow, you've learned Vedanta before everything else in the world. I support you in your journey. Is that what you would say to your kid? No, we would be horrified. That not wanting something, not wanting the upward mobility, that is a sign of not just complacency, something is deeply wrong with that individual. Vedanta agrees. So desire is natural. To an extent. When I was in college, I was interning at a company. I was like 21. And at that company, it was a large telecom company, they had people there celebrating their 30th anniversary in the company, 35th anniversary in the company. And these weren't like executives. These were guys that had been in that same middle management position for the past 20 years. So I was talking to one of them, and I'm like, dude, how do you do this? Like, how do you stay in the same role, same salary, same job description for 20 years like this? I could never do that. And he's like, yeah, I can tell you're 21. Well, yeah, but like, explain to me why this is. He said, look, in your house, in your backyard, you have your garden, you have weeds growing. Which weeds do you cut first? Which weeds do you cut first? The tallest ones first. That grow a lot, they get plucked first. The next ones you cut are which ones? Those that are easy to cut because they're really small also. You can easily pull those out and pluck them. The ones you don't really touch, the ones you let them do their own thing, are the middling ones right there. He said, I simply wish to remain in this garden. I don't need to grow the tallest. He said, with the salary that I get for the past 20 years, I support me and my wife and my 3 kids. We're very happy. I have no desire for all these bigger things. I said, but the same job every single time, doesn't that get boring? He said, again, I can tell you're 21 years old. This is fine for me. He said, he was an Indian guy. He said, my boss's boss also comes to me with questions, because I've been here, I'm the Bhishma Pitamaha of this company. On the bed of arrows probably, but I've been here longer than anyone. I know the ins and outs of everything. I'm fine where I am. Now, this kind of contentment, some of you are like, yeah, I understand that. Some of you are like, what a weirdo. Like, how can someone think that way even? That's the thing. What we're content with, what we want to reach for, that differs from person to person. So saying get rid of desire, that's not a logical way of looking. There's a lot more nuance involved in this. So which takes us to the next part then. What are those 3 entities that lead me astray? That lead to my destruction? Bhagavad Gita would tell us it's 3 things. Kama, Krodha, lobha. So we're taking desire now and taking it one more level. This is where desire is, it leads me to destruction. Kama, krodha, lobha. Desire, anger, greed. Now, aren't desire and greed the same thing? The way Bhagavan Krishna defines them is, kama or desire is yearning after something that I don't have already. I haven't tasted what that is, I don't know what it is, so I go after it to experience it. Lobha is after experiencing that thing, I keep wanting more of it. That hankering does not go away, it builds even more. So where does krodha fall into this? Anger is nothing but a reaction when desires are not fulfilled. That's all it is. But when someone insulted me, my desire is people treat me well. They didn't treat me well. Anger is the result that's coming out of it. Anger is nothing but that kind of a reaction. Now the thing about desire is completely cutting it out, especially during the stages of a sadhaka, impossible to do. Kama will be there. That is to be accepted. Krodha, anger. I'm going to get rid of anger completely. That's also not possible. And some people say intelligent things like, these sannyasis, they never have anger. They never get angry at all. They're always so equanimity, calmness. Yeah? All right, next time, come with me. We'll go on a trip to meet when Swarupananji or Guruji, when those people come around. Take them to the airport sometime. Now on the way to the airport, say, oops, I messed up the timings. Your flight actually left an hour ago. We missed your flight. Now tell me, do these people, sannyasis, get angry or not at that moment? The difference between us and them is our anger comes as a reaction, and it is something we seldom can control fully. For the sadhu, anger is a tool. A tool that is used for one purpose of correcting or showing the seriousness of something. Once that tool is used, they put it back in their pocket, it's gone with. There's a famous story. Pujya Gurudev, the last year of his life, he was confined to a wheelchair. In one of the centers in India, a board member had confirmed his attendance at an event, putting his face on the flyer and everything, without even checking with Gurudev. Gurudev was double booked. He had a different event at that same time. So he dressed that man down. He was like, as a mission member for this long, how can you make such a stupid mistake? You don't even check with me or my secretary before you just make this decision like this? What's wrong with you? So he was going at him, blasting away. At that moment, one family brought their young son who had just won the Gita chanting competition. Gurudev's wheelchair turns. By the time it turns in 2 seconds, he has the biggest smile on his face. Puts that kid in his lap, congratulates him on his win, gives him a chocolate, is really enjoying his time with him. The great thing is not being able to pivot and change. Many people are able to do that. It's knowing that anger was just a tool for a purpose. That's not a baggage that's stuck with him. Whereas many of us, when we get angry, that anger stays for like 24 hours. I myself know if I get angry in the morning even, and I think about it throughout the day, that night it's hard for me to sleep. It's a visceral reaction. And you can feel it in your blood pressure. We have these physical reactions that way. Anger can take us to terrible places like this. Lobha, greed. My friend Gordon Gekko would say greed is good. Wall Street. Isn't greed good? That's how innovation happens. That's how countries rise from just being middling nations with certain needs to saying we want even more. When a whole society is focused that way, look at the innovative practices and technology and everything that's there. When we are impatient and are not content with the way things are, we think, why can't things be a different way? That's how some of the best inventors and creators and thinkers came along. How are you going to tell me that greed is not a good thing then? It benefits society so much. To that, Pujya Gurudev would say, like he starts off in self-unfoldment, in the midst of increasing comforts, we find happiness only decreasing. So if these innovations were going to make us happier, they should have by now. If anything, they hurt us. Look how much controversy there is surrounding AI and the advent of social media and all of this. We had our high school lock-in on Friday night, overnight till Saturday morning, and we took all their phones up when they came. So these kind of things I have Sanjanaji do. She's stronger than me, physically, emotionally, every single way. So she's the one that takes up the phones, and the kids whine and cry, and she's like, don't worry, you'll live. Just put the phone in the Ziploc bag, write your name on it, we'll keep it, don't worry, you'll be fine. Like, she'll tell them. So all night, the first couple of hours, they were really fish out of water. The fact that you have to actually talk to the person next to you instead of being buried in your phone, that was a foreign concept to many of these kids. But they were, very, very strong-willed, and they were able to have short conversations with the people around them. I was really proud of them. Then finally, at 5:30 a.m., we gave them their phones to remind their parents to come pick them up at 6 when the lock-in ends. So all night they're talking to each other, having karaoke in one of the rooms, a long discussion, playing games, all of this. In this main hall, I took a photo too. The moment we gave them their phones, this whole room was filled with 50 students. It went dead quiet for the next 30 minutes. Every single kid's just burying their phones like that. It's like giving an addict their needle back. Like, that's what it simply seemed like. It was crazy to see. We can't blame the kids for this. It's society that's made them like that. And we can't blame society for this. We are all collectively the ones that have shaped society to be that way. That reliance on technology that way. We're even putting that phone away and just having a conversation, making a new friend. It's like the hardest thing in the world. So I don't think that's something that's going to change over time. It's only going to get worse. But it is a huge issue. That's where greed takes us as a society. Where instead of looking at what are the actual effects this has on individuals, especially young people, we want these advancements and we go for them more and more. And yeah, it makes someone a good buck, and it makes us more efficient in many ways, but what it does to interpersonal communication, which is one of my biggest focuses as a brahmachari working in a community, we're rapidly losing that generation by generation. Tough to see, but how do we adapt? One way is having these periodic times where we take their phones away for these times. And the funny part is, when we took their phones, it wasn't the kids so much who were affected by it, the parents were the ones that were more concerned. That, if we don't reach out to our kid, how do we know they're okay? Dude, it's a lock-in. We lock all of them in this facility. Food we provide. Activities we provide. Me and Sanjanaji are here all night. What do you have to worry about, really? I'm so glad that when I was in school, there was no tracking apps and things like that for parents. Or else I would have hated my life. How many of y'all, do you guys track your kids on the tracking apps? No, some parents do, no judgment there. I'm just saying if I was a kid and I had that, I would really hate my life. Half the things I did I wouldn't have been able to do if I had a tracking app. You tell your parents you're going to, a friend's house. Instead of going there, you're actually going and vandalizing someplace. I've been through all of those things. It's there. Part of growing up. So greed, when it takes over, those are the effects. Now, why these three specifically? As the three gates to destruction. We could easily say one gate of destruction is dishonest living where we're not integrated. One other gate to destruction is the lack of curiosity of looking at knowledge. These three so specifically because this is inherently in every single person. Desire, anger, greed will build in anyone for different things. It's not always monetary things or materialistic things. Knowledge can be something subject to greed as well. Think about it. You stockpile knowledge and you know so many things. You can gatekeep it from some people and not let people have opportunities. You can make sure this knowledge only serves your purposes in helping you. You can use this knowledge, manipulating it to sound different for different groups of people and get what you want. It can turn into a greed where you keep wanting more and more of it for your own purposes. That's called Shastra Vasana. It's actual Vasana. Greed for that knowledge. Not just to know, to use it for some other means. And what else is to be seen is, when we have desire, anger, greed, we know we have that triad within us. What is it that opens us up to get us out of that? This past December, I had the opportunity to go to the Global Chick Camp in Coimbatore, which is open internationally for all of our Chick members, college kids and young professionals. So out of 130 students there were only about 4 or 5 Americans, barely any, because it's exam time during that time. So 45 Australian chicks, you had about 20 from the UK, you had about 15 each from Hong Kong, Singapore, all these regions. So I had met young people from those areas for the first time. Spending a week there, I really got to observe and see. I saw a lot of differences between the chicks in America and the chicks from these places. One thing was, when it comes to discussing topics that are sensitive and can be misconstrued, I found myself having to watch my words so much more carefully in America with the chicks. Because you say one thing wrong, even if it's not your intention, but the way you're expressing, you will be canceled by the chicks instantly. That you are a misogynist, you are a racist, you are a this-ist. They'll assign you any ist in the book. That's been done to me multiple times here in America. From the other parts of the world, though, Australia, UK, all these places, there was a maturity of no oversensitivity. They were able to handle these broader discussions. I went deeper into these topics than I ever could in America. That was interesting to see. Another thing, though, when it came to group discussions, having it with the students, the American chicks, even if it's something negative about themselves, they're willing to be open and vulnerable and share that. And say, this is something I'm working on, this is an impediment in my personality, but here is what it is honestly. The chicks from the international realm, though, if it was something not positive about themselves, they were very reluctant to even say anything about it. That openness wasn't there. Group discussion questions that I asked was just met with silence at times. And I was like, man, this works so well in America, what's going on here? Same age group. Very interesting to see. Biggest kicker was, with the American mindset and the education system we have here, what we learn is, whether you know something on a subject or not, confidently express what you want to say at least. Whether you know it or not is immaterial, have something to say that sounds substantial at least. We learn that really well here. In those other countries there, even if you know something, no reason to openly share it so much, because it's not about putting yourself out there. What are you doing for the broader team when you're speaking? So little nuances like this, that shapes entire personalities. So in my entire life, I'd always bristle, saying when people are like, Americans, you guys are obnoxious, you guys are this, that. Even international chick settings, I'd hear, oh, you American chicks are like this and that. I never believed it. But seeing it now, there are pros and cons to any side wherever you come from. How does this tie into desire, anger, greed? Our upbringings, where we come from, what we assimilate, all of this contributes to this triad right here. So there's no pegging it as all humans are this way. This is how we come out of desire, what desires we have. A lot of it has to do with our own swabhava, the vasanas we come with. A lot has to do as well with what are the environments we find ourselves being nurtured in. And Bhagavad Gita takes account for that completely. Because the purusharthas of kama and artha are given as this is accepted, is it within that ambit of dharma, however? Now, dharma is the funniest purushartha. We respect it, but the moment we are assigned a dharma, saying this is what my duty has to be, we bristle against that so easily. So also in 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, one shloka clearly says, it's better to do one's own duty imperfectly rather than doing someone else's duty perfectly. As if Gita is not hard enough to understand already, we have riddles in here again. What does this mean right here? I will always find that the grass is greener on the other side, what someone else has to do. I saw a discussion happening one time between a school teacher and an engineer, right here in our Saaket Center. Engineer said, I'm so jealous of your job. You get summers off. You have very fixed hours of when school is in session. You may get paid a little bit less, but yeah, whatever. The teacher said, are you kidding me? I have to deal with some of the worst kids every single day, day in and day out. At your company, someone doesn't perform well and acts out, they fire them or move them somewhere. I'm stuck with the same types of kids year after year. Those kids that don't listen are terrible people. The next year, I'm replaced with one more person just like him or her. I have to deal with that. Engineers said, no, what do you know about my job? Project management is just herding cows is all it is. The more you rise up in my profession, the less actual work you get to do. It's just managing people, which is a drag completely. What I went to school for, what my passion is, I'm not doing any of that. I'm simply dealing with egos and personalities. At least you get to teach the knowledge that you actually learned. Like that, they were going back and forth. The point being, the grass is always greener on the other side. We think everyone else has it better than they do. That's all it is. Now, because of that mindset, the duties I'm given, I never want to discharge because they make me uncomfortable. Again, if we go back to parenting, it's so much easier to control someone else's kid than our own kid. Lack of attachment is there. Plus, people listen to people that are not their own parents, they'll listen to other people. That's why I told you guys, never teach your own kid driving, they won't take it seriously. Take them to a driving school. Best thing we can do. So because of these kinds of issues, it's hard to take these duties as something I enjoy doing. And that's why we're hoping for the one more thing. As long as one more thing is there, I'll be happy. This one job is there, I'll be happy. My kid gets it, I'll be happy. That happiness never comes. I've never embraced a duty in my life. Now what's the flip side of this, as given by Bhagavad Gita? Knowing that a duty is that which is choiceless. I cannot say I want to discharge this duty but not this duty. It all comes in one package. Do I understand the growth in every single thing that I have to do? Growth not in terms of remuneration or some kind of money that comes with it, not that kind of growth. Spiritual growth in that I am evolving as a personality. The only way that's tested is through stretching of my vasanas and testing those. You want to test someone's heart, an EKG, ECG, whatever you do, you put them on that treadmill, put the nodes on, do a stress test. When you're at rest in your heartbeat, then that's not going to tell you what the problems are. Stress test is needed. The duties that I have are nothing but those stress tests to see in discharging those, can I stay detached? Can I simply do what needs to be done? Now that's easy to say from a stage, much harder to do. So a framework that the kids looked at last week in their topic. Knowledge, practice, pride, growth. Knowledge. What is a belief that I have? Given from my religion, what is a belief that I have? For example, it's ahimsa, nonviolence. What is the practice of that? Vegetarianism, for instance. Knowledge should lead to some practice. Something should be done with that knowledge. Then pride. Not pride of, look how great I am, what I do. Pride in even when that belief or practice is shaken by some external desire, some external opinion or ridicule from someone else, how firmly do I stick with what my convictions are? That is how pride comes about. What kind of growth does that lead to at the end of the day? Is it simply a health reason that, yes, I've eaten vegetarian, my health is much better, no fatty acids, all of this? Or is it I find my mental makeup has improved because of it? How much progress is coming out of it? Because oftentimes what do we have? We have firm belief in a knowledge. Having that actually practiced, we don't know how that's done. How can we actually practice this knowledge? We just come to satsang and listen to it. We nod while Hari says what he has to say. 1:30 comes and we get the heck out of there. There's no real practice of it. We don't get that practice. So there's no question of pride because the moment someone says something else that sounds kind of rational, our entire belief is shaken. Completely. And then the growth never happens. So can all four of these come into alignment? That is the very objective of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. While the Upanishads are abstract in what they say, need a lot of thinking to be able to do. While Dharma Shastras may be rigid in saying what needs to be done, but don't give the philosophical meaning of why, Bhagavad Gita gives the reasons to do something. What is that highest philosophy? What does it look like to be unshaken as we do it? What is that process of growth as we go about it? 700 shlokas giving us all of that. And in just one session, look how many twists and turns we've been able to take. Starting first with, what is this nature of desire that we have? What is it that we want from the world? That we have philosophies that we live by. What does the actual practice of it look like? We can say we're Vedantins. What are we at heart based on the way we live? From there, we can go to what are those pitfalls to avoid? Kama, Krodha, Lobha. Why do they come about? How do they come about? How are they mitigated? What does contentment mean? What is desire to go forward? How do I have good intention with desire? And finally looking at, for that growth that I want to achieve, how much am I willing to put into it? What is my idea of a goal in the first place? Is it something with a lot of externalities involved that if they don't pan out, my goal doesn't work out? Or is it something actually attainable and realistic? Is it something, more importantly, I have full accountability with? So that I can't blame anything or anyone else when that thing doesn't work out. It's just me looking at the mirror. That's it. Now, given all of this, we end by looking at one final shloka today then. This one comes again in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. 53rd shloka, I believe, is the shloka. Ahankaram balam darpam kamam krodham parigraham vimuchya nirmama shantaha brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Brahma bhuyaya kalpate, he is fit for that highest. How so? Having abandoned ego, power, arrogance, desire, anger, aggrandizing everything. Most importantly, freed from that notion of mine, ownership of things. When Swami Shantanandaji comes for the lecture on Sampurna Gita pretty soon, you have a lot of people that come. After the third day of lectures, the seat that someone sits in the front row perhaps, if someone else sits in that seat, they get kind of angry. Haven't you seen me sitting here for the past 3 days? We don't have assigned seating, it's open seating. You sit wherever you want. But see, even that becomes an attachment right there. That this is my seat right here. Bhagavad Gita tells me even this body is just a vehicle. I'm in here for one lifetime and I assume it's mine. I shouldn't do that. Let's start first with our seats, then we can get to body and things like that. That attachment builds that quickly. Where anything we get used to, suddenly there is a reliance on that. Now there's an objection and an argument that comes up here. Okay? From a growing perspective as children, there have been studies that show those kids that are often supplanted from their situations, without a stable home, moving from city to city because of parents' jobs and things like this, that lack of constant friendships in a stable environment that's consistent, that leads to problems later on. Trust issues with other people, not being able to really function in a way where they can build their own environment for themselves. We see that happen. So that's one objection right here. That you're saying have that consistency, have the same thing again, that's the right way to go. That's one argument. While the other argument is don't get comfortable with any situation. So all of this is internal. I can be in the so-called comfort zone situation. When things change, how do I respond? Similarly, I can have a lot of things changing. Can move from city to city, have different people around me, everything. But I can still be closed off and set in my own ways where I do things a certain way. Everything else changes. My mindset never changes, though. So it's not simply about physical environment or how consistently we do something. It all depends on how flexible am I in my mindset. Can I assimilate a new idea? Can I take something in? That is the only way to growth. So it's a practice we can take up then. A lot of abstract talking has happened. There's no practice that we've discussed. One practice that comes up often is the first thought that comes to mind is often a benign, simple, measured thought without any consequences. It's a thought of observation. That's all it is. Usually the next thought after that is some commentary from my end, which taints that first thought, causes some attachment, aversion, or something like that. Oftentimes we spiral in thought after thought after thought. Can I stop after that first thought? That's one practice. When I go to the Frisco Center, that's a longer day at the Frisco Center. Like Sanjana G is doing this here, 3 whole sessions throughout the day. Her day ends at like 3 o'clock. So when you walk in to that center in the morning, I want to set myself with a good attitude so I can do well. But then you see certain things. We tell parents stay in the session. Even there, just like here, some parents drop off and leave their kids and go. So you see a red Tesla. Everyone drives a Tesla there too. Red Tesla pulls up to the school. The first thought I have is, that is a red Tesla. Observational thought. No commentary there. Simply what I see is what I'm telling myself. This is a red Tesla. From there, I see the kid come out and the car go away. Man, these parents, we tell them every week, they don't listen. It's for a right reason, but they don't care. Mine goes in. Then I stop myself. Okay, cannot go in that route. I'm still walking. The red Tesla is now replaced by a blue Tesla, the guy behind them in line. Everyone in Frisco has a Tesla, okay? Blue Tesla. First thought, observation, non-binding thought, this is a blue Tesla. And from there, I take a global approach this time. Tesla is owned by Elon Musk. That guy's such a weirdo. He's crazy. Then your mind goes to different things right there. Again, stopping that mind. No. Back to the same thought. Even the process of getting out of my car and walking into a building, observation is the first thought. The mind gets tainted from there on so easily. Can the sadhana be stop at that first thought? It's tough. That's why listening to satsang is so hard. Because there's so many changing ideas that are coming, hard to stick and think about one thought. Furthermore, there's so much, oh, this is boring, this is terrible, this is that, I don't agree with this. All of those thoughts come too. But try it this week as an actual sadhana. Can I stop at that first thought, not entertaining anything else? We find the thoughts that we do dwell on are so much more productive then. Things that don't just put us into a negative mood. So with that, I'd like to invite you all again, Shivaratri Puja on the 15th, next Sunday. Because the 16th, your kids don't have school Monday, right? It's President's Day. So I think a lot of the districts don't have school. So this is my favorite puja of the year, for many reasons. It's the longest, most elaborate one. With the full Shivalinga, we do the entire Abhisheka of Namakam, Chamakam, Rudram, we chant everything with all the different padarthas. Instead of just 108 names of Bhagavan, we chant the 1,008 names of Bhagavan Shiva. We have an elongated Rajopachara. Several of our chicks are singing in such beautiful Shiva bhajans. The best part of this whole puja is you're not just spectators. Every family gets their own thali with their own Bhagavan Shiva to worship. So this is where it's a guided puja in that way. Everyone's fully involved in it. Sahasralinga Archana, 1,000 Shivalingas that we have there. It's amazing. This is my favorite day of Chinmaya mission of the whole year here. It's amazing to see. So with that, we'll see you all next Sunday evening. All right, biggest question then. We asked a lot of questions today. Who's going to win? Seahawks, Patriots? What's going to happen? Seahawks -4. You know Bill Simmons going by the odds and everything. Look, when I was growing up, Patriots were the ones that filmed other teams' practices. Patriots are the ones that deflated the balls and played. So in my mind, like, cheaters should not win. So for that reason, I'm going for the Seahawks then. Let's see what happens. But drive responsibly, enjoy responsibly. Let's see what happens. Yeah? How do you differentiate between desire and greed? A desire will be harmless enough in that you want it, but you understand that even if I don't get it, it's okay. That's still a desire level. And it's something that I haven't gotten yet. There's no experience of that. Greed is having experienced that thing. If I don't get more of this, I am terribly angry, unhappy. I need to have more of this. Desire is more of a want. I want this. Greed is I am only happy if I get this because I've had this before. So wanting more and more of it. That's one way. There's different ways to analyze it. That's one way for today's purpose. Yeah.
The reason I asked is, so everybody might think about buying a house, then it goes to $1 million house. So same thing with institutions. So once they have a profit or maybe a couple of centers, they want to grow it to 10.
How is that not greed in that way? Intention is what it is. Even wanting $1 million house, if it's my parents are going to move in with me, I need another bedroom downstairs for them, for their comfort, that is for the right intention right there. Now, from a centrist institutional standpoint then, if the purpose is there's a growing population in one area, therefore let's expand and give them an opportunity for their own growth in that area, that's one reason. If it simply is we just want to make our mark on the community and we want to build as many properties as possible, that's a different thing then. So intention also matters when it's simply a desire versus greed, wanting more and more. If there's a need for it, that's not greed anymore. But the same person can buy, two people can buy $1 million home, one for the benefit of the family, one for just the prestige, right? Intention matters so much right there. Good question. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha Hari Om.